First of all, let's do a little recap. And it all kind of started with that damn metaphor, the peeling of the onion. You know, when we burned up our karma and we've peeled off our conditioning and dropped our belief system, we're like the onion that's been peeled. That puts us in a dilemma. What do we do with the mind when it no longer has a center to come back to? It's like a bird that's flying around, flapping its wings, trying to find a resting place that no longer exists. So we began exploring, finding something solid for the mind. So for a while the stories have been pointing to the possibility of there being a place that was called knowing, something solid and permanent. But then, of course, we realize that, like all of language, it has an opposite, unknowing. So, of these last days, we've been exploring unknowing to see where it leads. But let's get down personal, up front and personal. The other day, Emin and I went to the naturopath, and in the course of questioning by the practitioner down there, she asked what it was that I did. And I found myself answering, "Oh yes, I was a yoga teacher for more than 30 years. Oops. So coming out of there, I realized that, oh yes, there's something there. So it reminded me of several stories, and it's put out to us to see what it brings up for us now. First of all, there's that oops. There was a very, very rich man who wanted to be counted amongst the dervishes. So he went to a very great sheikh and he asked him could he become a member of his school. And the sheikh said to him, first of all, you have to give up all of your wealth. And the rich man said he would do anything to become a student of this great man. So he went back to his house and he gathered all his jewels and his gold and he put them all in a bag, and then he went to a cliff and he took a very long rope and he tied the top of the rope to the top of the cliff. And then he threw his bag with all his goods down into the ocean below. So then he went back to the great sheikh and he said that he's done exactly what the sheikh told him to do, to give up all his wealth. So now can I be admitted as a member of your school and become one of your dervishes? And the sheikh looked at him and said, not until you cut the rope. And then there's that story about the woodchopper, and he spent some long while gathering wood, which was very sparse, from the forest, which he wanted to take to the town to sell, to make his living. But to do so, he had to cross a very steep pass, a mountainside. So he loaded up all of his wood onto the back of his donkey, and he's made his way up the mountain into the pass. But as it happened, there was a war going on at that time, and when he came to a point on the road high up in the mountains, he was accosted by a group of soldiers who were in need of a donkey, and so they asked him how much for a donkey. He said, I can't sell my donkey because it's carrying all my wood. I need to take it to the town so I can make some money. So the soldiers began to bargain with him. Well, how much do you want for your wood? So they reached a price for the wood, and the money was paid over, and so the soldiers began unloading the wood from the donkey onto the side of the road, and of course in the bargaining they came to a price for the donkey. Yes, but all the wood was unloaded on the side of the road, and the soldiers were about to lead off the donkey, and the woodcutter said, but what about my wood? And the soldier said, well, look, you know, we paid for the wood, we don't need the wood, we only need the donkey. And they got into a big argument about it, a big fight about it, until finally the soldiers, very exasperated, just led the donkey away and went on with their business, leaving the old woodchopper standing by the side of the road, scratching his head, saying, what about my wood? And then the final little anecdote is about one of the great Sufi Sheikhs who was thrown into jail because he dared to use the phrase, I am the truth, which was a great heresy and punishable by death. So he was in his cell awaiting his punishment. When one day the guards went down to find that his cell was empty. But when they came back, there he was in his cell. And they said, we came down some time ago and you weren't here. And the Sufi Sheikh answered, yes, Allah was with me. And again, a time later, the guards came down to find that the great Sufi Sheikh was not in his cell. And so again they came down and there he was. So they asked him again, the last time we came down and you weren't here, and this time again you weren't here. And the Sufi Sheikh said, yes, I was with Allah. There's no doubt that we will continue to explore the need for our mind to find a resting place, something that appears solid, a permanency, an underpinning, and we must needs find a name for it. But where will this endeavor lead us? when we have a story like this last anecdote, that boggles our mind, not like a Zen koan, that trips the mind, but an intimation of solidness. What do these anecdotes bring up for you? Recognizing and having to acknowledge that for the most part our onion has been healed. What have you done? What are you doing with your mind? Is it still like that bird flapping around, trying to find something solid and permanent on which to rest? Or can you hear these anecdotes, this anecdote about the Sufi Sheikh, one moment there and one moment not there, able to say, yes, Allah was with me, and then to say, yes, I was with Allah. What does this mean? Why don't we question that? Why is there no need for our mind to try to find an understanding of this anecdote? It accepts it without question. Wouldn't you agree? We can nod at this. We can understand it without having a mind that needs to analyze it or find something solid about it. Isn't it so? We can accept that. What does it mean? Allah was with me, I was with Allah. And you're not there.
Because they're interchangeable, and so they're not there. They're not even in this world.
There's no need for a place of solidness on which to rest, is there? How can we rest in this? What do we do about cutting that rope? For myself, walking out of that practitioner's office and really, literally thinking, whoops! Could have been a more expletive. Really. Shit. Yes. What is the rope that has to be cut?
That tiny little bit of who you were before.
Yes.
What would you have said instead?
I don't know.
But wasn't that valuable for her to see why you are so fit at your age?
Yes, you could justify it in that way, but the thing was, there was that hubris in that moment. I felt myself saying, yes, absolutely. No? Okay.
No, I don't think it matters a hoot.
It doesn't matter a hoot, but it brought that recognition of this, oops, see what's being said here. How the mind will cling on to even something that you were before. that the key is in this anecdote about the sheikh in the jail, isn't it, for us? What does it mean? I was with Allah, Allah was with me. What is this place where there's nobody there?
Well, there wasn't anybody there when they said I used to be a yoga teacher.
Thank you.
I'm just making excuses for myself. I mean, I was a baby once, you know.
Still like that.
It's still in you.